Hello everyone, this is Atman Nityananda and his online spiritual academy, which I call Advaita Atma Yoga Academy. The academy of the true self, Atman, consciousness. What we are is consciousness. We feel and think, or we believe that we are a body-mind person, that our identity is this person confined in the physical body. But in fact, in reality, we are formless, unlimited, changeless, ever-free consciousness. And because of grossness and extroversion of mind, we fail to realize that our true identity and become an entity confined in the physical body. Today, I would like to speak a little bit to clarify some ideas related to pleasure and happiness. We all seek happiness in life, although we are not so sure. It's not clear to us what really happiness is. But since our true nature, our essential nature is happiness itself, bliss, ananda, they call it ananda in Sanskrit, we consciously or unconsciously, we seek happiness in life through all our experiences, mostly sensory experiences. We seek happiness through sense objects, through relations, through experiences. And the reality is that we sometimes experience joy and happiness to some degree, but they are all fleeting. And at the end, they let us unfulfilling. We live almost constantly in a state of dissatisfaction, insufficiency, of something is lacking. We lack something. We need something to feel complete. Although we may not be aware of them, they are constantly these states of dissatisfaction, uneasiness, insufficiency, of lack. They are the underlying reality of our experiences. And because sometimes we are so engaged in external affairs of life, and we identify ourselves with them, our attention is caught in these experiences, attached and caught in these experiences. We fail to realize this inner state of dissatisfaction, uneasiness, insufficient, of lack, existential void. And also we try always to find some pleasant and pleasurable experience to get rid of them, to distract ourselves from these experiences that they are, we could say, it's a kind of suffering. It depends how strong they manifest in us, these tendencies and emotional, most of all, states. And I wanted here to clarify that most of suffering is of emotional nature, energetic and emotional nature. It's not mental. Of course, finally it becomes also mental suffering because we cannot stop our mind. But suffering itself it relates and it has to do with emotional, vibrational frequencies, energetic, vital energy vibrates somehow, and we experience this in an harmonious way or inharmonious, as pleasure or suffering. And this energetic and emotional state becomes also a mental state. But the problem is the energetic turbulation and agitation and density of energy that creates suffering. So all these expressions, depending on how strong they express themselves in us, is a kind of suffering. And we desperately, we try to get rid of them through experiences, sensory experience, pleasant and pleasurable experiences. And we are convinced somehow that we can find finally happiness and fulfillment in the external world, which it is nothing more than sensory impressions and experiences, impressions. We fail to realize the fleeting nature of all experiences. We fail to realize that they are empty. They have not happiness in themselves, neither joy nor happiness nor fulfillment. They are just pleasant or unpleasant. And in reality, in fact, pleasantness or unpleasantness has to do with our connection and relation with experiences. The same experience for some people is very interesting and pleasurable, and for other people is boring, indifferent, or unpleasant. The same experience. But because we do not investigate, inquire our experiences and ourselves, and because of the density and grossness of our mind and lack of discernment, we fail to realize these things. And we always attribute our happiness and joy to the external experience, to the sensory experience, which is not the case. As I said, depends on the relation we have with the experience. For example, for one person that wants children, a child, when this child comes, takes birth, these people are happy. And when other people that they don't want children, and a child comes, they are unhappy. That's why most of people, I wanted the unwanted embryos. They go to the doctor to take them out to avoid this birth. They are not happy at all. And some other desperately try again and again with all possible ways to have a child. So some people suffer because of loneliness, and other people want to live in solitude and find happiness in solitude. So these two examples are so easy to understand, that the experiences in themselves are not pleasant or unpleasant. They don't give us happiness or unhappiness. It is our attitude towards them that makes us happy or unhappy. In fact, happiness is a state of mind and consciousness, a consciential state and state of mind, and mind at all levels, emotional, mental level, and also energetic level. So when our mind assumes its sattvic state, which is an harmonious, luminous, diaphanous, very light state, then we experience happiness, the happiness of sattva. Sattva is one of the three qualities of nature that all things of the life are composed. Is the sattva, rajas, and tamas, the three qualities of nature, are the basic, the foundation, the basic material, we could say, the foundation of all forms. So this form, it is made from these three gunas. And of course, all these three gunas to operate, to function, they need the light of consciousness. The universal consciousness is behind them. It is the master of the gunas, we could say, and the source of the gunas, rajas, tamas, and sattva. So when the mind assumes, sattva is the luminous quality, rajas is the quality of the dynamic quality of activity and passion and pleasure and agitation. And tamas is the quality of inertia, darkness, inertia, laziness, immobility, stagnance. And sattva is the luminous aspect of life. Luminosity, love, peace, intelligence, harmony, joy, happiness are related to sattva, are qualities of sattva. Agitation, extroversion, movement, desire for power, money, prestige, fame are related to rajas. And laziness, stubborn, lack of inspiration, aspiration, darkness, unintelligence, stagnation belong to tamas. So sattva is the quality of happiness. So when our mind assumes this state of sattva, we experience joy and happiness, or peace, plenitude. And normally, naturally, when we find ourselves, our mind is in sattvic state, we connect with the inner self, consciousness, with our essential nature, it's better to say, because it's not a self. Many people, many or all of the spiritual teachers use the term self for our divine essence. So I use this term in my presentations. But in reality, it is not a self, because it is not an entity. It is formless consciousness beyond description. It is our essential nature, the essential part of our being, existence. We are a being, a human being. The exterior layer is the physical body. The essential layer, the essential nature of this being is, because it's not a layer. We call layer all other parts of our existence. But consciousness is not a layer, it's the essence, the nucleus of our existence, the center, the nucleus of our existence, the essence. It is formless and changeless, timeless. It cannot be perceived through senses, but it can be experienced directly here and now by focusing our attention in our center. by withdrawing our mind attention from experiences, sensory experiences, and psychological experiences, and by focusing them in our center of our existence, we experience this formless, spaceless, timeless consciousness, which is always free, blissful, peaceful, and whole. So, happiness has to do with the sattvic state of mind and consciousness, our essential nature. It has nothing to do with the experiences, sensory experiences. However, some experiences help the mind to assume the sattvic state. For example, nature. Nature, by nature, is sattvic. So when we are in a forest, then of which the vibration is sattvic, our mind easily, because of resonates with this sattvic vibration of nature, assumes its sattvic state. And that's why we find ourselves in a calm state. We regain, we could say, the serenity, which is the natural state of mind. Quietness, serenity, tranquility is the natural state of our mind. Sattva is the innate quality of mind, but it is contaminated, our mind is contaminated by rajas and tamas in the form of all these tendencies we call selfish or egoistic or egoic tendencies, which are of rajasic and tamasic nature. And their vibration is very dense. And all these tendencies are associated with external sensory, better to say, objects and experiences and persons. That means in the presence of one specific object arises in us the mental emotional state that is associated with this object or experience or person. So, in the presence of sattvic impressions, our mind easily assumes its sattvic state. That's why we can experience the calmness, tranquility, serenity, joy, peaceful joy of mind. But because of ignorance, we don't know this. We associate this experience with external reality. As I said, there is a relation in the sense that the vibrational nature of each object affects somehow our mind and makes it to assume its rajasic, tamasic, or sattvic state. And because of this state, we experience happiness or pleasure or pain. So, but one person can find happiness when doing a passionate sex. We can make do. It's an action. Sex in a sattvic way, rajasic way, tamasic way. So people with tamasic mind find happiness when they do this tamasic instinctive way of having sex. Rajasic when they do sex with passion, passionate. Or tamasic also with perverse way, like having sex with small children or with animals. This is a perversion. However, these people, which their mind obviously is tamasic, they find some kind of satisfaction, of course, and happiness. How could be possible? It is human unconsciousness. So there is a Rajasic way of making love, having sex better, and the Sattvic one. And that all these states have levels. So the highest level of Sattvic is Tantra, what we call sexual Tantra, which is a kind of spiritual practice, we would say, through which we develop consciousness and we transmute our sexual energy to divine energy, ojas and tejas. So we could say that all our experiences can be categorized in these three states: Sattvic experience or Sattvic experiences, Rajasic experiences, Tamasic experiences. There are different levels, of course, in each category. And of course, experiences always have to do with our state of mind and consciousness. In themselves can be of Sattvic or Rajasic or Tamasic nature. But for a Tamasic mind, a people, a man, a woman with Tamasic mind, a Sattvic experience is boring. Do you understand this? The same applies to the Rajasic minds. For a Rajasic mind, fully Rajasic mind, Sattvic experiences are boring. And for a Sattvic mind, Rajasic experiences are very, it's like suffering, disturbing. You see, for a Rajasic people, man, woman, the Rajasic experiences give to them, of course, pleasure and some kind of joy or happiness. For a Sattvic person, the same experience, Rajasic experience, is a kind of agitation. I could say not awful, but disturbing, inharmonious, doesn't give this satisfaction that a Rajasic person has from this experience, the same experience. So the experience in themselves, we could say, are neutral from the point of view that give to us happiness or pleasure or pain or whatever. They are neutral. They have Sattvic quality, Rajasic quality, or Tamasic quality, or a mixture of them. A little bit Rajasic and Sattvic. The same applies to the mind. Our mind can be totally Sattvic. This is only possible for what we call enlightened people. This is a real enlightened mind and person whose mind is totally Sattvic. That Rajas and Tamas have been eliminated from their mind, from their minds. And this is only enlightened mind. Not only the mind that has realized that its essential nature is consciousness. This is realization, but not full illumination, not full realization. So by having now this knowledge, you can understand more clearly that happiness depends mostly on our inner state, mental, emotional, and consciential state. The more sattva exists in the mind, the more deeper and clearer is the connection with our divine nature, the more we will experience happiness. Of course, plenitude and freedom and peace. And the more the rajas and tamas qualities prevail, the more we will experience pleasure and pain. And we will have moments of joy and happiness. The more the sattva quality prevails in our mind, the more frequent and intense will be the experience of happiness and joy. Because when the sattva quality prevails in our mind, the more frequently our mind will assume this state of sattva. Because although sattva prevails, if rajas and tamas continue in our mind, we will have sattvic moments or periods of time, rajasic and tamasic. But the sattvic ones will be more frequent and more intense and more, they will last more time because sattva prevails in our mind. But because in reality, rajas prevails in our mind and tamas, we have most of the time rajasic, our mind assumes mostly its rajasic and tamasic states. And very occasionally, it's sattvic states, which last also very little. The duration of these sattvic moments is short. The more the sattva quality develops or increases in our mind, these sattvic moments will become more frequent and will last more, and we experience them in a more intense way. More joy, more peace, more happiness, contentment, love, beauty, all these are related to sattva. So when our mind is in a state of sattva, we experience these things. They are not things, but... And because sattva is... Because rajas and tamas prevail, to say it better, in our mind, and sattva is very little developed in our mind, we live mostly rajasic, tamasic states of mind and heart, emotionally, mentally, intellectually. We find ourselves mostly in rajasic and tamasic states of agitation, confusion, turbulence, insatisfaction, uneasiness, of course, pleasure. We are attached to pleasure, like, dislike. We live in this state of mind. Impatience. We always looking for the next moment. We find our mind and ego, of course, finds more interesting the next moment, and we use this moment as a means for an end, as for a future satisfaction or happiness. We do not enjoy this moment as it is. Why? Because our mind is not in a state of sattva and connectiveness with our essential nature. That means in calmness, quietness, luminous vibration. It is all about vibration. All life is vibration, energetic vibration. Even what we call matter, it is a kind of vibration of energy, a frequency, and we experience this vibration as matter. Everything is energy. According to the scientists, there is a little, life is 90% of energy and one emptiness. Sorry. If we say life is 100%, 99 is emptiness, and 1% is energy, and from this 1%, what we call matter is very little part. So life is mostly emptiness. This is the emptiness of the external space, of the mental space, but most of all of consciousness, which is formless. And it's experienced as a space, but it's not a space. But we use this, as the traditional teaching use this term of space. We have the space, physical space, we see the objects. We have the mental space, which we perceive the thoughts, and most of all, because emotions are more dense, it's related to, but we have the higher emotions are more transparent. So we have the mental emotional space, we could say. But all emotions, thoughts, imagination, they are all included in the mind. So we have this mental space, and we have the space of consciousness, which is the more, the subtler, beyond description. So, to recapitulate all this, what I have said until now, it is that happiness and joy has nothing to do with external sensory experiences, but our attitude towards them. One. Secondly, happiness is related, not, it is an expression of sattva in our mind and heart, and has to do also with our consciousness, our essential nature, which is the source of everything. But our essential nature in itself is ananda, bliss, a happiness beyond description, which is unlimited, unconditional, and unmixed with any other experience. When we lose ourselves, our mind is absorbed totally in consciousness, there is only not happiness, bliss, better to say, because we say happiness, the state of mind, the sattvic state of mind. So it is a higher state of happiness, we could say. So happiness always has to do with the sattva and our divine essence. And if it happens to experience happiness when we experience something in the external world, it's because for some reason our mind has assumed its sattvic state for some reason. And normally when we enjoy something, we enjoy in the sense that we enjoy a pleasure, not happiness. Our mind is very concentrated, very focused, concentrated in what we experience. And this concentration helps the mind to assume its sattvic state. So we forget past and future. Normally, when we not experience something so joyful, pleasurable, whatever, our mind moves between past and future, or interprets and criticizes, judges the present moment. It's not silent. Doesn't remain in silent state. Silent and concentrated. And because of a pleasurable experience, our mind can become fully focused. And then this helps concentration, helps the mind to assume its sattvic state. That's why we may experience some kind of joy, happiness, and contentment. And this state of concentration helps the mind to connect even unconsciously with our divine essence. This is the secret of happiness. That's why the main element of meditation is concentration, a concentrated state of mind, a steady, firm concentration of mind. Because when our mind concentrates on something, all other thoughts disappear. And because of it, emotions also subside. Emotions and thoughts function are interrelated and function in a vicious circle. That means that the thoughts enhance the emotions, and the emotions enhance the thoughts, strengthen the thoughts. They become more turbulent. The mind becomes more agitated. And this way of thinking, strengthens the emotions, the expression of emotions. So when the mind becomes concentrated, all thoughts, little by little, the more the mind becomes concentrated, the more thoughts disappear. And then emotions subside. And when thoughts, emotions subside, then it becomes more obvious. No, comes in the forward the silent space of consciousness in our experience, even though we are not conscious of it, aware of it. Because it is the continuous agitation of mind at thinking and emotional levels that prevents us from experiencing the silent peace within us. And so when thoughts and emotions subside, even though we are not awakened to our true nature, this silent space of consciousness comes to the fourth ground, and we experience to some degree, depending on the concentration of the mind, this plenitude and peace and wholeness of our divine essence. And I had these experiences. I don't speak from the mind. I had many times this experience. But since I was not awakened to my true nature, I had no knowledge about these things. I could take advantage of these experiences. Probably all of us will have some kind of this kind of experiences because of deep absorption of mind in the sensory experience. But without knowledge, we cannot take advantage of these experiences. They come and go, and we continue to live in our normal unconscious state. What is this normal unconscious state? It's a state of identification, continuous functioning of the mind at thinking and emotional levels, and constant projection of thoughts about past and future, likes, dislikes, criticizing, judging, misinterpreting what is happening, wanting always to avoid something, to get something. We live in a state of agitation, extroversion, attachment, identification. And thus we fail to experience our essential nature, which is peace, bliss, and plenitude. So, because of ignorance, of lack of knowledge, we seek happiness in the external world. And although we may have moments of joy and happiness, we cannot find unlimited, we could say, happiness and contentment and fulfillment. Always we lack something. Always we will need something to feel complete. We will live in a state of insufficiency and lack and dissatisfaction. Why? Because the only thing which is not a thing, which is complete, whole, is our consciousness, our essential, which is our essential nature. And because the egoic self by itself is dissatisfaction, dissatisfaction is not only an emotional mental state, it is the nature of the ego itself. It is always, by nature, the ego, it lives in a state of insecurity, dissatisfaction, of lack, and separation. So it is these four states are an expression of the ego itself, of the egoic self itself, and specifically of the lower ego, because ego has two main aspects: the sattvic one, the higher sattvic one, and the lower rajasotamasic aspect. So this lower aspect of ego, by nature, expresses itself as insecurity, as a state of lack, as emotional state of lack, dissatisfaction, and lives in separation, makes us feel that we are separated. Of course, we are different forms, but we are forms that live in a unity, in union. And at the level, which is not a level of consciousness, we are one. There is one life, one consciousness that expresses itself in infinite forms, but these forms are not separate between each other. But the ego makes us to feel, to experience separation. We are separated from others, life, and what we call God. So we are seeking God. Where is God? What is God? God is our essential nature. And what this nature, essential nature is, it is love itself. It's not an entity. God is not an entity. It is love itself. It is freedom itself. It is plenitude itself, wholeness itself, peace itself. It's not an entity. We cannot find God nowhere. It is everywhere and nowhere, because it's beyond space, time, and time. And our mind functions in the realms of time and space and causality. And what we really are is beyond time, causality, and space. So that's why I say it's nowhere, but it's everywhere at the same time. This is one of the paradoxes of life. Paradoxes from our point of view, of our limited capacity to perceive life. And in reality, we perceive life upside down. We are consciousness expressing itself as a body, mind, me person, and we think and feel and perceive that we are a body, mind, me person, that we have a soul that we have to realize. But we are consciousness expressing itself as this body, mind, me person, to have physical, mental, emotional experiences and do this process of what we call spiritual life and practice and self-realization. So consciousness itself expresses as a body, mind, me entity, as all those people we are on Earth and all other planets everywhere. Planet Earth is not the only one that exists humanity. This is a delusion of scientists. Millions, trillions of galaxies and planets, and we are the only crazy humanity. This is a limited way of thinking that of unconscious people, even though they are scientists. We are a very poor, conscientially, a very poor humanity, a very low state of consciousness. This is our state. Anyhow, doesn't matter. We are small babies in this universe. We have to learn lessons and to develop our consciousness and become at the end beings of peace, love, and light, conscious beings of peace, love, and light. This is the university of life. So it is the density of mind at all levels that prevents us from realizing that we are consciousness. And it is that external experiences cannot give us what we really want, deep, everlasting happiness. They cannot, because they have not happiness in themselves. Are limited forms, as our body and mind are. And something that is limited cannot give us something unlimited. Only this very thing that is unlimited by nature can give us something unlimited. That means unlimited peace and happiness and plenitude. And this is our true essential nature. And this the realization and full identification of mind with this consciousness is the only way for everlasting happiness. Otherwise, we will continue to live in the state of identification, unconscious state, seeking always some experience to get rid of this almost constant state of uneasiness, insatisfaction, dissatisfaction, and lack, insufficiency, separation. We cannot avoid this. As long as we identify ourselves with the body and our mind and attention are extroverted and we seek happiness or fulfillment in the external world, we have to suffer. It's inevitable, unavoidable. The only way for freedom and peace is connection, conscious connection and establishment in our essential nature, which is peace, plenitude, bliss by nature. It's in nature. It is not quality. They are not qualities. Our true nature, what we call God, is our true nature. And our true nature is God itself expressing itself through us. This is non-duality. This is the essence of non-duality. There is one consciousness, one life, one consciousness, and this apparently, seemingly individual consciousness is this universal, absolute, non-dual consciousness, expressing itself in us as the seemingly individual self or consciousness. So, conclusion, there is not any gram of happiness in the external world. Happiness has always to do with the mind and consciousness, with sattva, the sattvic state of mind and consciousness itself. So, looking for happiness outside us, we are going, it is, how to say, it is mission impossible. How we say, vamos a fracasar, we say in español. It's a fracaso. It's a failure. We cannot find happiness, at least unlimited and constant happiness, everlasting happiness in the external world and experiences, because external world are sensory experiences. We cannot. The only way for everlasting, deep, full, complete happiness is the conscious connection with our true nature, which is bliss itself, and the purification of mind and heart, so that the sattva will prevail totally in our mind and heart, and we live always in this state of sattva, which is, by the way, the natural state of mind. Sattva is the innate nature of mind, but is contaminated by rajas and tamas qualities for some reason or reasons. this is what I wanted to share with you about pleasure and happiness. Of course, pleasure is different than happiness. It's a very specific vibration of energy, vital energy, physical vital energy, and also the lower aspect of psychic vital energy. And happiness is the sattvic vibrational state of mind, the deeper level of the mind. Or they call some teachings the Anandamaya Kosha, the deepest, which is beyond mind. They say that this level is beyond even the mind, but these details are not so important, at least from this point of view that we inquire happiness and pleasure and happiness. From another point of view, the examination of this Anandamaya Kosha or causal body, it is different. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I wish you, as always, peace, love, and harmony and happiness in your life, and be free from all kinds of suffering. And to achieve this is necessary to live moment to moment consciously, to focus on the present moment and live consciously, aware of our true nature of the silence within us, and live consciously the external experience without identifying with the experience, without losing ourselves in the experience, but maintaining a conscious contact with the inner peace. Namaste.